Well, it was bizarre times, wasn't it? And it was tough for everybody, wasn't it? It doesn't matter what you're doing or where you're at. It was really, really challenging, difficult times for everybody. Personally, I was thinking, gosh, there'll be times when I'm thinking, how am I going to get through this week? How am I going to get to Friday with all of the hurdles in the way? But just take every day as it comes. And I'm a massive fan. People who know me will say that I bore people with the fact that, the sun will come up tomorrow. You can guarantee it. Whatever else goes on, the sun will come up tomorrow. It will be another day. And we'll be at that day. And however difficult today was, there'll be another challenge tomorrow. And Monday's challenge that was a Everest to you on Monday will be a forgotten about thing because there'll be something else. So you just got to get up in the morning and do your level best every single day. And that's all that you can do. That's all you can ask of yourself. And that's all other people can ask of you, really. Just start each day in a positive way. And that's in your own gift. And support other people and be very aware that people got through COVID in different ways. Some people it was very, very, very difficult. Other people, they were more resilient. And that's again back to the joy of being human beings. But just be aware of those people. Walk through an office or something, and the person that's got their head down and is buried and doing all sorts. Maybe they're the one to stop and say, "How are you?" So yeah, it's just an awareness.
So, that's interesting, that situation you talk about where you're spiraling downwards because something's gone badly and then you're second guessing yourself, and then before you know it, you're in this downward spiral.
Yeah.
How do you pull yourself out of that?
It's really interesting. I think be aware of it to start with. We're all our own worst critics, and inside your own head, I'm a terrible catastrophizer. I think, oh, this isn't going to work. That's not going to work. And then when something goes slightly wrong, you think, oh, that was terrible, and you forget all the good stuff. But you've just got to kind of, one thing is try and keep it inside. I've always said to people that look confident on the outside, if nothing else. Even if on the inside you're thinking, oh no, this is a complete disaster, it's terrible. On the outside, just look confident.
How do you do that? How do you project an air of calm?
Yeah, just kind of be like I am normally, and kind of imagine how people are going to see you, because honestly, we've all been definitely knotted on the inside and thinking, oh, this is a disaster, this is terrible. But what's done is done. You can't fix the past. You can only fix the future. So if you've done your sim check or whatever, and you've had a real disaster on the first thing you've done, you can't make that you can't undo it. But what you can do is make up for it, and actually the rest of it do as best you can to make up for it. So you've got to compartmentalize that, put it behind you, think, yeah, it's done now.
And also it's the best place to learn, isn't it? And that's it, as opposed to on the line,
Completely right, yeah. But anything, you just learn from it. You can't undo it, but learn from it and be better for it.
Yeah, we're all human, and part of being human is learning.
Of course it is, yeah. And part of being human is making mistakes as well. So, that's something we've got to accept. We're all fallible.
Are there any mistakes that you've made that you've maybe learned the most from?
There's probably too many to mention, really. I try and learn from everything I do. There's been lots of things through all sorts, through flying, through, outside flying, whatever, really. So to give specifics is difficult, really. But I've always kind of got that same mentality that's what you learn from, really. So if you swan through life and nothing ever goes wrong, you're not going to learn very much, are you? So, but make a point of learning stuff and make it better next time. As I say, there's times where I've done things I thought I'll be really good, and whatever. In the last role I was in, I'll do a video or filming or whatever. It'll be great. I don't need a auto prompt or whatever. And then it's a disaster, and you think, nah, maybe you do. Yeah. Maybe you should have been a much better prepared. And I'll go back to that prepare thing. Prepare, and it makes such a difference.
Have you always prepared? Were you like that at school, or is it something that you've learned?
Always been a bit of an over-preparer. Talk to my wife, she'd be like, oh, God, he just does so much work, for everything. Because I've always had this kind of bizarre thing where, if I do an exam, I want to do the absolute best I can. So I'll just do way more work than I need to, so that whatever question comes up, in my mind, I'm going to know it. And again, in my mind, if I get one wrong, that's kind of a bit of a failure, really. So I've always over-prepared. And even to this day, I've been flying for like 40 years. Even for like a sim check now, I will do days worth of preparation because I'm not going to get there and, have the trainer ask me that one question. I know all this massive stuff over here, but you haven't asked me that. You've asked me that one thing here. And that makes me look like I don't know what I'm doing. So I always prepare, and probably prepare and over prepare. But it gives me inner confidence that actually, do you know what? And so much of life is about confidence, isn't it? If you believe in what you're doing and you're confident doing it, you're going to do a good job of it. You see sportsmen, don't you? That when it goes off the rails, it's because they've lost it mentally. They're still the same physical person, but so confidence is a massive thing. And for me, preparing gives me confidence.
So how do you reconcile it though? Because take an aircraft for example. There is so much to learn about an aircraft that it's impossible to know absolutely everything. So inevitably there will be times when you are asked that one question that you haven't prepared for.
Yeah.
So how do you reconcile it when you've prepared and that gives you confidence, but then you've been asked a question that you don't know the answer to?
Yeah.
How does that make you feel?
Well, I guess it's back to that human being thing again, isn't it? That we're not perfect, and I'm not a machine, and I can't learn absolutely everything. But I'll just do everything I can so that that there's one question, it's not two or three or four. So you can just do the best you can.
You just put the odds in your favour as much as you can, don't you? And then
completely, yeah. And that is in my gift, it's my gift to prepare and do as much work as I can for it. So.
And you talked about confidence as well. How would you suggest people can build confidence?
Belief in yourself. And for me, that it comes from, knowing my stuff, knowing what I'm doing, and doing your research or whatever it is, whatever you're doing, do it as best you can. I'm a big fan of that. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Every day's a gift. So just do as best you can in everything you're doing. If it's worth doing, it's worth doing properly. And that gives you confidence because, you've prepared and you're ready to do it. So, believe in yourself. Have some belief. I spent many years, like I say, joined the Air Force. I was like, oh, God, I shouldn't be here. And it was only really when I got to somebody pinned some wings on me. I was like, oh, my goodness, there's Air Force wings on there. What are they doing there? That I start to believe in myself a bit more and I got more confidence. And I went and flew the Hawk and then the Phantom. And I did all right actually on those courses. And you start to really believe in yourself. Now you've got to be careful because when I was in my early 20s, I probably believed in myself a little bit too much. But being a fast jet pilot, you've got to have some belief in yourself to do it really. But there is a careful balance. Don't become arrogant and go over the top, which when I look back at my younger self, maybe there were times when the balance was probably not perfect.
So when you started at British Airways then, you very shortly moved into training. Tell me about the rest of your roles that you had there up until this point. Yeah,
it was kind of whistle-stop toury. First thing I'll say is there was never a grand plan. So I didn't have a dot in the wall. I didn't have people have a career plan and all this other stuff. I just had it'll be what it'll be, big believer in fate and stuff comes along. So I went from the training and I finished the training role. It was a 4-year role, 5 years maybe. And I thought, I really love this training. How can I keep the training going? And they did a thing called a management assessment centre where you went along and they tested you and did all these group exercises, a bit like when you try and join the airline. And then if you pass that, they say, well, we've got these management roles. And I managed to pass it, again, very lucky. And they said, oh, you can be the tech manager on the 747. British Airways, biggest fleet in the world, 57 aircraft. And all of a sudden, I'm the tech manager.
You're the world expert.
I know. It's bizarre, isn't it? I was like a trainer a week before, and all of a sudden, you're the world expert.
Was there any imposter syndrome in that? Because that's quite a terrifying jump.
Yeah. Only a continuation of the imposter syndrome I've had from everything else I've done. So that was, it was quite a jump. But again, you just do the best you can, don't you, really? And you listen to people. And the joy was, I'd gone into this office environment. I wasn't a trained manager or anything like that. I was a pilot, really. But there were plenty of people in the office world that have been there for a long time. And you could sit and watch and again see the guys that are really good, and you could just learn from other people in this new environment. So I did that, and then I lived near Gatwick for my charter days, and I love training. And they said, do you want to be the training manager at Gatwick on the 737? So I was like, yeah, of course I do. So off I went down there. I got my command on the 737. I was the training manager, and I loved training. Still do now. So I did that, and that was just an opportunity that came along. There was a shuffle, the deck shuffled, and an opportunity came along, and I thought, yeah, I want to do that. So I grabbed that. Then when I was down there, the chief pilot moved on, and the chief pilot role came up, and I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't mind doing that. So I'll apply for that, and bizarrely got that as well. So suddenly I'm the chief pilot down at Gatwick. And then they turned it into its own like mini business centre. So it became like a little mini airline. I think we had 34 short haul airplanes and 11 or 12 long haul airplanes. So it was bigger than most international airlines. And I became the head of flight ops, which was a bit more business focused, which was great, like a mini director of flight operations role. So I did that. And then the chief pilot on all the Boeing fleets role came up. So it's back at Heathrow, back on the jumbo. So yeah, I'll have a go at that. So I did that. And then the director of flight ops role came up. And having done actually the Gatwick role, I think it kind of gave me the confidence to think maybe I could do that. So I applied for that and bizarrely got that as well. So no grand plan really. And then I did that for 5 years. And then the flying bug and the love of flying and training got me again. So I thought, well, I'll go back and do a bit of that.
So in terms of changing those roles throughout, so you've gone from flying to management to business role. So there's a lot of different skills there. So how did you equip yourself with the right skills and learn the right skills to do each of those roles?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them are generic skills. A lot of them are just be a good person and do the best you can skills, really, throughout all those roles. And then again, you just learn from people around you, and all these roles, you're very privileged that you've got people around that support you. And if you surround yourself with a good team and a good bunch of people, then, it doesn't matter how good or bad you are, actually, they'll help you along the way. And, and just be true to yourself as well. And don't lose your core values and who you are, really. It doesn't matter what you're doing all the way through that. It doesn't matter how small or big the role is as well. You're still one human being, and you still do the best you can with that, and kind of treat each different job. They're just different. So yeah, I think that's the way to do it. I've never had any formal training with any of that, apart from the training, obviously. So management-wise, no, not really. Just learn as I went along.
So you touched on something very interesting there. You said about your core values. So what are your core values?
I'm a big believer in people and doing the right thing. Which is, try and, like I say, get out of bed in the morning and do the best you can, to be true to yourself, and do the best you can for other people as well. So I like to think I'm kind of a people-y type person. And like I say, I'm very empathetic with other people. That means a lot to me. And put yourself in other people's shoes. What would they want? You have to do, through a 20-odd year management career, you have to do some difficult things. But it's how you do those difficult things that has always been important to me. And I think that's key, really.
So we were talking about leadership earlier. What do you think are the skills that make a good leader?
I think there's a lot, really. And I think the first thing really is to be yourself, really. Don't try and be something that you think you should be. So be yourself. Again, back to this empathy thing. Doesn't matter who's in your team, what they do. It's back to that magic. Remember the NASA story about the guy that's sweeping, and he's, what are you doing when, I think it was Kennedy asked him, what are you up to here? And he's like, I'm putting a man on the moon. And that's so true. Every part of the team is really important, and you have to remember that. And they're all human beings as well. So I kind of, go out my way to speak to people and do all sorts of stuff, because it's absolutely vital. So a team is a team, and every part of that team is a bit like a complicated Swiss watch. Take the tiniest little cog out, the thing stops.
Are there any leaders that you've learned a lot from, or that you've tried to emulate throughout your career?
I think leaders are very different, and people are very different. And you kind of put me on the spot thinking about leaders that I've looked at and seen. How big do you want to take it? Do you go to the Nelson Mandela, or do you go to wherever? Really, there's plenty of people that have led great teams and done amazing things. Within the airline industry, there's people that are pretty impressive, and pretty resilient as well, which is amazing. But again, they've all got different skills, and some things they do, you think, oh, I probably wouldn't have done that or whatever. But there's too many to mention, really.
So while you were Director of Flight Operations at British Airways, you picked a very challenging time to be DFO.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I probably didn't pick it, but it came along.
So you had to navigate through COVID. So suddenly we're in this situation where no one knows what's happening. There's this huge uncertainty for all of us. We don't know what the new normal is going to be like, whether the airlines will still be there, and you've got 4,500 pilots that you've got to keep motivated. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about what it was like trying to lead a team when you don't really know what the outcome's going to be.
Yeah. Well, it was bizarre times, wasn't it? And it was And it was tough for everybody, wasn't it? It doesn't matter what you're doing or where you're at. It was really, really challenging, difficult times for everybody. But I was a big believer as a leader, you've got to try and, back to my thing, doesn't matter what's going on the inside, you've got to look confident and motivating on the outside. So, I was a big fan that personally, I was thinking, gosh, there'll be times where I'm thinking, how am I going to get through this week? How am I going to get to Friday with all the hurdles in the way? But just take every day as it comes. And I'm a massive fan. People who know me will say that I bore people with the fact that, the sun will come up tomorrow. You can guarantee it. Whatever else goes on, the sun will come up tomorrow. It will be another day. And we'll be at that day. And however difficult today was, there'll be another challenge tomorrow. And Monday's challenge that was a Everest to you on Monday will be a forgotten about thing because there'll be something else. So you just got to get up in the morning and do your level best every single day. And that's all that you can do. That's all you can ask of yourself. And that's all other people can ask of you, really. Just start each day in a positive way. And that's in your own gift. And support other people and be very aware that people got through COVID in different ways. Some people it was very, very, very difficult. Other people, they were more resilient. And that's, again, back to the joy of being human beings. But just be aware of those people. Walk through an office or something, and the person that's got their head down and is, buried and doing all sorts, maybe they're the one to stop and say, how are you? So, yeah, it's just an awareness.
Yeah, I mean, you were leading an airline through the worst crisis in aviation history. So in terms, though, of managing uncertainty in everyday life, how would you suggest people can manage uncertainty and the anxiety that surrounds it?
Well, I think back to you've got to take every day as it comes, really, and you've got to get over a mountain range. Don't think about, I've got to get over the mountain range. Think about, I've got to go in tomorrow, I'm going to be here, and the day after I'll be there, and try and make things, talk about bite-sized chunks, don't they, really? So, and just, like I say, honestly, just get up, do the best you can. It won't always work. You won't always do the right thing. And you'll look back and you think, oh, wish I'd done that differently. I wish that had gone differently. But you can only get up in the morning with the information you've got and get as much information as you can and make a decision on the day with the facts you've got and do the best that you can, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It's just about surrounding yourself also with the right team as well.
Yeah, because they're probably feeling the same as you are, and have those same worries, and actually they give you strength. There are a few people in my team that were very close, and I wouldn't have got through without them. Quite happily admit that they were incredible. And I look at them and think, well, they were way stronger than me. But I don't know, maybe they were looking at me thinking, well, Al's still going, so we're fine. And you just grow bonds and you look after other people, don't you?
Yeah, you do. You support each other throughout something so challenging.
Yeah.
So in terms of leadership, we talked a bit about imposter syndrome. How did you find that? Because you were dealing with something, each time you've done a role, there's been something completely new to you, a new challenge. So what advice would you give to someone who is taking on a new challenge?
Imposter syndrome is a great one. I love the way you use that, because I still have it now. You all have it every day of the week. You think, doesn't matter. And I don't think it matters what you're doing, whatever role you are. People will have an imposter syndrome, whether they're the prime minister or whatever, because we're all human beings and we're all the same in that sense. So again, just do the best you can, and you'll soon find out. There are things in life where you do a role and it is just beyond you, or things don't go well or whatever. And sometimes it's like, well, maybe this isn't for me. And other times it's, no, actually, I can do this, and get that determination and carry on. But we all have imposter syndrome. I can't believe I've blagged my way through 20 odd years in management, 40 odd years in aviation. And I still feel like I don't know, a fraction of probably what I do. But again, it's that imposter syndrome.
And we're talking a little bit now about diversity, and sort of leading on from the leadership we've been talking about. Why do you think there are fewer women in leadership roles, and what can we do about it to encourage more women to go into leadership roles? Yeah,
I think obviously part of it's historical, isn't it? And it's self-perpetuated over time, hasn't it? But diversity is so important. Whatever it is. Let's talk about flying. On a flight deck, if you've got a diverse flight deck, you will get better outcomes. And in any team, if you've got a diverse team, you'll get a better outcome, rather than a group of people who are like thinking throughout. So that's why diversity is so important. And I think things are getting better, and I think there's much more awareness these days about the importance of diversity. And I'm a massive supporter of anything that improves that. Aviation is a great one, female pilots, but also social mobility. I think that's a really important thing, to get people from all sorts of different backgrounds, get them into what is a really privileged career, aviation. And it should be open to everybody, not just people who are lucky or got lots of money.
What can we do to improve the social mobility in aviation?
I think some of it's awareness. I think getting role models out. Role models I can't shout about enough, really. It's really important, go to places where there aren't, potentially there aren't pilots, that nobody's a pilot, but and it's going to take a while, it's going to be baby steps, but get out there. We've got a mobile simulator at BA that we'll take to areas where people wouldn't normally see it, into schools where people wouldn't see it, because there will be kids there that say, I want to be a pilot, and they're ones, bless them, they'll teachers be going, yeah, really, whatever. But then if you can get 1 or 2 pilots in, and then those pilots can go back and say, look at me, I started from there as well. So yeah, really, really important for kids to look up to somebody and think, do you know what? Yeah, I could do that. I could do that. He's done it, so I can do it.
It makes it more accessible, doesn't it? If they see a real pilot, that's actually, it's another human.
Yeah.
It is a.
And a real pilot like them, even better. That's maybe from their area background, whatever. So yeah, really, really important, and we should keep pushing that. We should keep doing everything we can to get more. Well, look at me with my 30 hours flying from the Air Force. To get opportunities for people from backgrounds who've got no aviation background, certainly got no financial background to do it, to give them an opportunity to just get some flying. There's some wonderful organisations out there that give scholarships, whether it's gliding or flying powered, whatever, that offer these amazing scholarships to people to get them on, get their toe and get the journey going. So yeah, good on them.
And so throughout your time in aviation, when you joined the Air Force in 1985, so British Airways, the first female pilot was 1987?
Yeah. Barbara, I think.
So when you started flying, there were British Airways didn't have female pilots.
Yeah, it's terrible, isn't it?
Now we have more, many more female pilots, but still many more, there's still a lot more needs to be done to get a better representation. So why do you think that is, and why do you think there are so few women who then make it go into leadership roles, whether it's within aviation or whether it's actually in FTSE 100 companies?
Yeah, and again, I think some of it's historical. So, if you're talking about, let's say, pilot managers in BA, if you've got a very small pool of female pilots, you're going to have a very small pool to pull into to management. So it's about building that base up and getting more people in. And we're all working hard to do that. I know EasyJet's done an amazing job with that as well. And as I say, same with the social mobility piece. In fact, diversity from all over, whatever that might be. To get those people in, and it takes time. We're not taking on hundreds of thousands of pilots every year, so it takes time to build it up. But we've got to be determined to do it. And I think as an airline, we're determined, and the other airlines I see around are determined to do the same thing. And there's some great scholarships and support out there to help people along. But I think we could do more to get out there in terms of getting into schools and showing role models. We've got the wonderful tools of social media these days, and we should be using that as much as possible. And and some of it is because if you're at a school, the teachers, bless them, they know nothing about it. So it's giving them the information as well to, and even getting kind of ambassador kids at school. You could get a couple of kids who are really into aviation and flying, and get them applying to the airlines just to become an ambassador, and then they can talk to other kids about what it's about. So
I think also sometimes women are reluctant to put their hands up for a job.
Oh yeah.
Because I think sometimes, the statistics or the various sort of research has been done, but statistics are something like women will look at a job spec and go, oh no. There are 10 things there and there's one of them I can't do. And women want to be, I think, 80% or more, or feel they're that much qualified to do the job, whereas men, it's sort of around 50%. So sometimes it's about encouraging women to go for these roles and say, you are good enough.
Yeah, definitely.
I fly with so many female first officers who don't feel like I'm ready for command yet.
Yeah.
But you're more than ready. You're brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. But it's about that nudge, that confidence, that building people up.
It's back to that belief thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're not an imposter, and
you deserve to be there.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. And we've all got a job to do to encourage that.
And what about disability as well? And Aerobility is Equal Skies Charter.
Yeah. Oh, it's vital, isn't it? I mean, wonderful to be a disabled astronaut. I mean, it's amazing, and it should happen. You know, we have disabled pilots. You know, we have some in the company and other airlines as well. And again, it's back to this. It's kind of leveling the playing field and getting everybody on board, really. So yeah, it's really important. And I mean, Aerobility is just a fabulous place to be, isn't it? I mean, it's just inspiring to be here. You look at Mike. Mike is just, oh, how can you not be amazed by Mike and do whatever Mike says, do something, I'll do it. And it's wonderful. It's such a great charity to encourage people, and you know, that sort of ethos of, well, if I can fly an airplane, there's no limits to what I can do. So it's always a privilege to be here and to be able to support, because it's so important.
I think it's a great example as well of diversity in general, and the need for equity over equality, and that sometimes it's about giving people the support that they need to get them where they need to be, rather than giving everybody the same support.
Absolutely,
but it's not necessarily appropriate for each person.
Yeah. It's back to, we're all individuals, aren't we? And different people thrive off different things, and different people need different help and different support, you know, because, well, just from my background where I started is very different to someone else maybe. So yeah, any help you can give is great. But again, like I say, I think with things like social media now, be bold. You know, if you're out there and you're thinking, oh, I'm not going to be a pilot. I can't connect with whoever. You know, be bold and give it a go. You know, go and connect with an airline chief executive or whatever, and just ask for some advice. Go and connect with them. One of the Red Arrows, for goodness sake, or the leader of the Arrows. Just connect with them. Me, for goodness sake. You know, I'm more than happy for people to drop me a line and say, look, I really want to be a pilot. You've got any advice? And I can guarantee you I'll write back, because it's, you know, and you'll find people that get to this sort of stage in their aviation career think, oh, do you know what? We've been very lucky. We should encourage the next generation.
It's really good to hear, actually, because I think it's very easy for many people to feel like people who've achieved such incredible things as you have are somehow superhuman, and that you have different struggles to the rest of us, or, you know, something that we can't relate to. But actually, you know, you're human and very open to helping people and encouraging people, and actually, but also you have the same kind of inner struggles that we all have with imposter syndrome, or, you know, needing confidence, or maybe failing at something and needing to be built back up.
Well, it's so true. I mean, I've been around aviation for a long time because I'm a bit older. You know, that's awful to say, but you know, inside, I'm still that kid that was looking up at airplanes when I was in my back garden at 12, desperate to be a pilot. So yeah, nothing changes in that sense, and it's great to remember that. It really is, because we've got a job to do to encourage the next generation in this wonderful industry, or or just encourage people to do whatever their goals are. It doesn't matter, whatever they want to do. You know, be that person that's saying, yeah, go for it. You know, you might inside be thinking that's going to be tough, but actually, you know, encourage people to say, yeah, you go for it.
If you could change anything about the industry, or you could influence how it's going to look in the future, what would you change?
That is a really good question, isn't it? And a really interesting question. I think we've already touched on it, really. It's getting that diverse group of people in, because, as we say, it's just the outcomes are better with a more diverse group of people, from whatever that background is. And I think that's a journey, like I say, and I think it's a journey that started, and I think it's really positive. You know, there's some really positive things to be done. I think we have to be realistic in terms of timescales, but the more we can do, the better, really. And we've all got a job, you know, as people in aviation. You know, you're an incredible role model for people, to think, actually, you know, wow, a airline captain. So it's amazing, and we've all got a job to do. Yeah.
Thank you. That's very kind.
No, it's true though. It's very true. You know, people will be looking at you thinking, oh, do you know what? I can do it as well. People will look at me and think, well, whatever, really. But so yeah, it is, and just believe, and honestly, you make the most of what's available now. You know, reach out to people, be brave, and it used to be the old days of write a letter. I remember I went to a school in north of London. Some kids wrote to the chief executive and said, I want to be a pilot. A young lad, he's about 9, I think. I want to be a pilot, and here's a bunch of questions. And the chief executive gave it to me, and there were a bunch of questions on it. And I wrote back to him via the headmaster. And I said, well, you know, can't answer all your questions, particularly the one about perfect landings. Don't know anything about them. But I'll tell you what, I'll come to your school if you want. So I went to his school, all arranged, and it was, you know, it was a tough school, but amazing place. and we're in the classroom with the kids. And I remember I had a little presentation, as you do, you know, and I put up a picture of a jumbo. I said, what's that then? And I thought the kids are saying, I said, aeroplane, whatever, you know. This kid, actually not the one that invited us, but his friend, he put his hand up and said, that's a 747-400 series. He's 9 years old. And I'm like, unbelievable. So I said to him, how do you know that? Thinking he'd say, well, I like planes, you know, I like whatever, I'm a bit of a spotter. He said, I know because it's got the extended upper deck of the 300, but it's also got the winglets. And I'm like, and I said to the teacher afterwards, I said, these are the kids we want flying our aeroplanes. We really do. And the teacher, bless her, because she knew nothing about aviation, she said, well, not going to happen, is it? And I'm like, well, it should happen because you get them on the flight deck and they'll be amazing because they'll be just so grateful to be there and they'll do a wonderful job for you. But yeah, that really opened my eyes to the fact that, you know, we need to do more and more and more to encourage people from all backgrounds. You know, there's millions of kids out there that would be amazing given the opportunity.